I can see we were doing schedule management.
Mm-hmm.
In the schedule management, okay. In the schedule management, we had done till reserve analysis, right?
Mm,
Chapter 1.
we left off on the bottom of
We had
estimate. Yep, reserve. Yep,
reserve analysis, right?
yep.
Till reserve. Okay. So we had completed estimate activity duration, that how to estimate the activity duration.
Uh-huh.
And after estimating the activity duration, we are going to develop schedule. Okay.
You sound like you have a cold, like you're sick.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry?
Oh, oh no, I said you sound like you have a cold or you may be sick.
Yeah.
I hope you feel
Yeah.
better.
Schedule management. Okay. This is chapter 6. So we had done 6.1. It
Uh-huh.
was plan schedule management. Okay. Where we got schedule plan. Then we did 6.2, where we defined activities, right? We defined activities and we got output as list of activities
Mm-hmm.
and
No.
activity attributes and milestone. And milestone. Then you have 6.3, where after defining the activities, we sequence the activity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sequence activities, and we sequence the activities by making a schedule network diagram. So we got here as schedule network diagram. Then in our last class, we estimated the activity, and after estimating the activity, we get output as duration estimate. Means we got that each activity, how much time it will take, what will be the duration of each activity. Then we can also get on what basis we have estimated, basis of estimate. Means have you done analogous estimation, parametric, 3 point, and or bottom up. So on what basis you have estimated. Now when you know the estimation of the activity also, the last 6.5 will be to develop schedule. Okay. So to develop schedule, there is a one very important method that is known as develop schedule. So to develop schedule, there is important method called first one is critical path method, which we are going to do now.
I've heard that before.
Yeah. Any idea? Have you calculated critical path before?
I have. I'm trying to remember in like what class I've done it before, but I don't
Okay.
remember exactly.
Okay, no issues. Let's say you are doing a website designing project. If this is
Mm-hmm.
your project, design and development of website, and it has two phases. I'm just taking it simple because calculation will be simple. Otherwise, it becomes clumsy here to write.
Mm-hmm.
Space is the problem. So website, let's say you design and develop website, and then you test it. So in the design and develop, let's say you design and develop home page and
Mm-hmm.
login page of the website. And in the
Mm-hmm.
test phase, you test home page and login page. Now, in the home page, let's say you will have two things. You will design the user interface, and after user interface, you are also going to design the backend. Here also user interface, UI, UX, and backend. Here also user interface and backend. User interface and backend. So all these are so as we know that this is the project. These two are phases of project. These are control account, and last layer is your work package, right? This is a work breakdown structure which we have already done in scope management, right? So
Yeah.
now
Uh-huh.
in 6.2 you added activities, right? So let's say the activities added here are, first one is you will hire team, you will train them, and then you will develop the user interface. Now login page, for login page you have already hired, backend page you have already hired team, so you will do training, and they will start working, they will develop. For UI also you can login page you have already hired a team, so you can do training, you can develop. Backend also training and development. Now when you will be when you are testing the UI phase, so first you will do the quality check. So you will do testing here. Here also you will do quality check testing. Here also testing, and here also testing. So this you have already added the activities in the 6.2. Then what we do, we make the list of activities. So let's say the list of activities are, first one is hire team. I'm writing this as activity A. Hire team. B is training and development. Training. C is development. UI. So training for UI team. Development for UI. D. D is training and development for backend. UI homepage. UI homepage. Training for backend homepage. E is train development for backend. B for backend and H for homepage. Okay. F is, let's say, training and development for UI of login page. So training development. This is UI for login page. UI for login page. G. Now activity H is training and development for login page. Backend training, backend login page. Training, backend, development, backend login page. Backend login page. Then testing UI for home page, UI for backend page. Okay. So J will be uh, testing for UI for home page. Testing for backend for home page. Testing for UI login page. Testing for backend page. Okay. So these are the list of activities I have made. Okay. So now in our last class we did that on this activity we are going to write the sequence or first the relationship. So let's say hiring the team here is the start. So training for UI of home page you will do after hiring the team, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can keep it into finish to start. Development you will do after training, so again finish to start. Training for backend you can do parallelly, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So okay, so I'm keeping it start to start. Like when you will start B, you will start D also. Development after training, so finish to start. Then training for login page. Let's say after completing home page, then we will move to login page. So finish to start, finish to start. Okay. Then training for backend of login page. So finish to start. Development, finish to start. Testing you will do after development is over. So again finish to start. All the testing will be finished to start because after you finish one testing, then you will take another. Okay, so relationship is clear. Now let's find dependency. First, you will write dependent activity. So see, hire a team is not is the start, so not dependent on anyone. Training of team is dependent on hiring the team because it is finished to start. When hiring the team will be over, then training will start. So B is dependent on A. Development will start after training finish to start. So C is dependent on B. Training is start to start. When you will start this training, you will start this training same day. So in this case, D is dependent on B. Development finish to start. So after you complete the training, then you will do development. So E is dependent on D. Then training, uh, here this training is dependent on development, right? So F is dependent on E, finish to start. G is dependent on F, finish to start. All are finished to start. So I is dependent, H is dependent on G. I is dependent on H. J is dependent on I. K is dependent on J. L is dependent on K. And M is dependent on L. So we have got dependency also. Okay. So this means we have completed the schedule. We have on basis of this we can make the schedule network diagram, right? So when you got the activity, you can sequence now. Okay. So now I am sequencing it. Here is the start. Start was A, activity A, right?
Mhm.
Activity is B is dependent on A. So B is dependent on A, finish to start. That is why this kind of arrow. Then C is dependent on B and D is also dependent on B. So C and D. Then E is dependent on F. Okay, I'll space it will not. C and D we can C, D. Then after D, all the activities are dependent on each other, finish to start till N. So D, E, F, G, H, I. Again, it is not coming. Okay, let me put start here. This is start. A, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, Let's keep it till activity K only because I don't have space here. Right.
Okay.
Okay. So this is, let's say, end. So when you get the schedule network diagram, now next point is, after getting the schedule network diagram here, now you have to estimate the duration of each activity. So you can use any duration, any estimation technique which I had discussed in last class, like STO, parametric, analogous, 3-point, bottom up, anything. So what you will do, let's say that hiring team is, let's say that hiring of team requires, let's say this activity is of 2 days. This is for 2 days. This will take 2 days. This all will take, let's say, two days. This will take 1 day, 2 days, 1 day, two, two. So when you get the duration estimate, now you will develop the schedule. So how to develop the schedule? So let's say activity A starts on day 1. So activity A will end on, it is 2-day activity. So when it will end?
On day 2.
Yes, day 2.
Mm-hmm.
This will start on day 3, right? Next day.
Mm-hmm.
So this is 2-day activity. So it will end on
Day 5.
day 4,
Oh, day
third
4.
and fourth. Now these two are in start to start relationship. You remember we had to start on the same day. So
Mm-hmm.
fifth and fifth. So both are 2 days activity. So fifth and sixth, it will end on sixth. This will start on 7th. This will end on 8. This will start on 9. It will end on 9. This will start on 10. This will end on 11th. This will start on 12th. This will end on 12th. This will start on 13. This will end on 14. This will start on 15. This will end on, after 15th, it is going to end on 15th and 16th. 16th. Now this will end on, start on 17th and this will end on 18th. So when is your project going to end?
18. 18
18th.
day.
So
18
we
days.
have, yeah, 18th. So we have here two paths. Path 1 is A, B and C. Path 2 is A, B, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is path A, B, C, part 2. So these are two parts. Now, out of these two paths, we say that path 2 is the critical path. Now, what is critical path? So critical path is the path, is the longest path, actually you can write, is the longest path which is the shortest possible time to complete project. Or you can also say it is the earliest. It is the longest, but it is the earliest when you can complete the project. Because you can't complete project before 18. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the path, critical path, which will determine when project will get over. So this is critical path. So whenever we calculate a critical path, let's say activity A. So in the center, we write the duration of activity. Let's say here we have written duration. This is duration of any activity. And this side we have, let's say, this side we have start time. So when you start, let's say you start on day one. So this is early start. This is known as early start. This is duration in the center, and it will end on 1 and 2, day 2. So this is early finish. Earliest you can start this activity by day 1 before that project has not started, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the earliest you can start by day 1, and earliest you can finish by day 2. So if you see activity A, earliest you can start on day 1, earliest you can finish on day 2. Okay. So before this, neither you can start and we cannot complete before day 2, right? It is 2-day activity. You are starting on day 1. If you see activity B, earliest you can start by day 3rd because it is finish. A is finishing on 2 and it is dependent on A finish to start. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to start this on day 3rd and you have to end this on day 4th. So earliest finish by day 4. If you see activity earliest, you can start by day 5th. Earliest, you can finish by day 2. Sorry, day 6. So on. For every activity, left side here we write early start, in center we write duration, and this is early finish. Now, earliest we know. Now we have to calculate the late start and late finish. Latest when we can start the activity and latest when we can finish the activity. We have to calculate that. So, like we write here early finish, at the bottom we write late finish. And this side we write late start. So, late start you write this side. Early finish and late finish you write this side. And whatever date you will get, when you subtract it, you get in center float. Like formula for float is late start minus early start, or or you can do either late finish minus early finish. What is float? Float is gap between the two activities. So now let's calculate the float in our activities. Okay, so I'm doing it with green. Okay, to calculate the float, let's start from the end. You did the forward calculation. Now you have to do backward calculation. Okay, so now let's do backward calculation. Latest you can finish activity K by 18th day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before that we cannot do, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And after that also we cannot do because after 18th, if you go on 19th, that means you are out of your schedule, right? End date
Mm-hmm.
is 18th. So latest you can finish it by 18th. Now it is a 2-day activity. So latest you can start by if you are finishing on 17th then. If you are finishing on 18th, latest you can start by 17th. You have no option because it is 2-day activity. So 17 and 18. So this is your late finish, late start. This is your early start. This is your early finish and this is your late finish. Subtract this 17 minus 17, 0, 18 minus 18, 0.
Mhm.
Float is 0. No gap between these two activities. Now, latest when you can finish activity J, if this is starting on 17th, you have to finish this by on 16th. No other option. It is a 2-day activity. So you have to start on 15th. 15 minus 15, 16 minus 16. Both are 0. Float is 0. Latest when you can finish activity I,
Um,
day 14, because this is starting on 15th.
okay.
So you have to complete this on 14th, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is 2-day activity, so you have to start this on 13th. 13 minus 13, 0. 14 minus 14, 0. Again, it is coming to 0.
Okay.
Then you can finish activity H.
By day 12.
Yes, day 12. Because this is starting on 13th. It
Mm-hmm.
is 1-day activity, so latest you can start also by 12. So 12 minus 12, 0. 12 minus 12, 0. Latest you can finish G by
11.
11.
Mm-hmm.
It is 2-day activity, so latest you can start by 10.
Mm-hmm.
10 minus 10, 0. 11 minus 11, 0. Float is
Mm-hmm.
0. Then latest you can start this, finish this by 9, and it is 1-day activity, so you have to start by 9. So again float will come 0. 9 minus 9, 9 minus 9. Latest you can finish activity E by day 8, and it is 2-day activity, so latest you can start by 7. 7 minus 7, 0. 8 minus 8, 0. 0. Latest you can finish activity D by 6, and latest you can start this by day 5th, and it is 5 minus 5, 0. 6 minus 6, 0. So activity float is again 0. Okay, now let's calculate for C. When can you finish C?
You can finish the day 6.
By 18.
Oh.
Project is finishing on 18. So latest you can finish by 18. You have time till 18th, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is 2-day activity. So latest you can start by
14. Oh, 16. I'm
14.
sorry.
Yes, 16. No, 17th. It is 2-day activity. So 17 and 18 you will
Oh.
work on. Yeah. So 17 minus 5, 12. 18
Mm-hmm.
minus 6, 12. So float is 12. You have
Mm-hmm.
12 days gap here. Even if you delay 6 by 12 days, the activity C by 12 days, nothing is going to happen for your project, to your project schedule.
Okay.
Okay. Now see activity B. Activity B is dependent on C and D,
Oh.
right? So C you can start latest by 17. B you
Mm-hmm.
can start latest by 4th. So you have 5th. So you have to complete this by
Hold on. At
4th.
the back of my ear. Uh-huh.
4th, because this is starting on 5th. This is
Uh-huh.
starting on 17th. So since D is starting on 5th and it is dependent on B, you have to complete this by 4th, right?
Okay. Right.
And it is 2-day activity, so it will start on 3rd. So 3 minus 3, 0. 4 minus 4, 0. Float
Mm-hmm.
is again 0. If
Mm-hmm.
this is starting on 3rd, latest you have to finish this by 2, and it is
Mm-hmm.
2-day activity, so you will start on day 1. 1 minus 1, 0, 2 minus 2, 0. Float is 0.
Okay.
So we concluded before this that there are two paths. Path 1, that is A, B, C,
Mm-hmm.
and path 2 is A, B, D, E, F,
Okay.
G, H, I, J, K.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you see on path 2, float is always 0.
Mm-hmm.
Path 1, you have a gap of 12 days, right? So
Mm-hmm.
this means that the float is always 0 on critical path. That is why it is known as critical path, because there is
So
no
it's
gap here.
so it's always zero on the critical page. Okay.
Okay. So that's why we call it as critical path. If any person who is working on activity A, B, D, E, F, G, H, K, H, I, J, K, if they ask for leave, don't sanction the leave. Because if you sanction the leave, the activity will be delayed and you will miss the project schedule. Okay. But a person who is working on activity C, even if he takes leave for 12 days, nothing is going to happen for your schedule, to your schedule. Is this point clear?
So what is the leave again?
Yeah, see, on critical path, float is 0. That
Mm-hmm.
means there is no gap between the activity. After you complete A, you have to do B. After you complete B, you have to do D, E, F,
Mm-hmm.
G. It is sequential, right? Without any gap. But on
Okay.
path 1, activity C has 12 days float, right? So all those people who are working on A, B, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, if you give leaves to them, if they apply for leave, and if you sanction the leave, being a project manager, then
Mm-hmm.
your project will be delayed, right? So that is why people,
Okay.
those who are working on critical path, you don't give them leave till your project is over.
Oh, okay. Got it, got it, got it.
Yeah. So, see, in the interview, they mostly ask that how would you manage activities on critical path? So you can say that on critical path, since there is zero float and there is
Mm-hmm.
no gap between the activity. So in that case, what I do is I keep my best resources on critical path.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Makes sense.
And yeah, and always I plan a backup. Let's say you said that you will not give leave, but if someone is sick, what will you do, right? So you have to think a backup resource on these
Mm-hmm.
activities.
Okay.
So, okay, now when you got the critical path, you know which is critical path and what is the project. Now you can develop the schedule. So if you see, let's say start date of your project is 1st February. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Activity A will start on 1st Feb. It is starting on day 1, right? Better to write here, otherwise I have to go 4 pages. Okay. Activity A, let's say start date and end date. Now activity A starts on day 1 to 1st February 2024. This will This is 2. It is ending on second day, day 2. So 2nd February. Activity B, you can see it is on 3rd, start on 3rd and end on 4th. So it will start on 3rd Feb, it will end on 4th Feb. C, C will start on day 5th and it will end on day 6th. C will start on day 5th, 6th. D is 5th and 6th. D is starting on 5th Feb, it is ending on 6th Feb. Then E is starting on 7th, ending on 8th. 7th February, ending on 8th Feb. F. F is 9th and 9th. So 9th Feb and 9th February, 9th February. G. G is 10th and 11th. H. 12th and 12th, right? 12th February and 12th February. I will be I is 13th and 14th. 13th Feb and 14th Feb. So J is on 15th and 16th, 17th and 18th. 16th and K is on 17th February to 18th February. So you can see we got the whole schedule of the project, right?
Mm-hmm.
Based on critical path. Any doubt till here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So first output here is that you got the project schedule. Okay. Now, while doing the schedule, we also take help of a few activities, few more techniques. Okay, so develop schedule. For develop schedule, we have done schedule network analysis, we have done critical path. Okay, so now we are going to do a technique called resource optimization. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
resource optimization, if you see, there are two types of resource optimization. First is labeling and second is smoothing. So
Okay.
labeling is, okay, I'll explain this in on our diagrams. Okay, if you see
I've heard
this
of those
schedule,
two before.
which one?
Both of them. But you can use those in Excel. You can put them in Excel, like to
Yeah,
find it.
yeah, you can do it in Excel.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it is done in Excel only.
Okay.
Excel or any project management tool you can use.
Okay.
Okay. So if you see for you have this is your schedule, you can see here this is a problematic one because both are starting on 5th February and
Mm-hmm.
ending on 6th. Now, why it is problematic? Let's say activity C and D is you activity C, Jack is working and Joseph is working. On activity D, Jack is working. So let's say activity C requires 8 hours of work. For Joseph, it requires 8 hours of work. Activity D also requires 8 hours of work. Okay. So in this case, what will happen? See, Jack has to work on 5th February for 16 hours, right? Let's
Mm-hmm.
say on this whole project, three resources are working. Jack, Katie on activity B, activity C, I have told you. So activity E, let's say again Jack, here Joseph, then
Let's see.
Katie, let's say again Jack, Joseph. Since rest everywhere, you have finished to start relationship, so no problem. But this is a problematic one because both activities are starting on same day and one person, Jack, which is who is involved, he has to work on both activity and due to it is difficult for Jack, right? So you have to do something for Jack. So let's see activity C and D. So activity C is not a problematic one, right? Because activity C has 12 days gap float. So let's push this activity on 10th, right? Or 11th we can push because Jack is 11th only Katie is working on this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So C is dependent on B, so B is already done on 4th. So you can start
Mm-hmm.
C on 10th. So I'm pushing this on 10th. I cannot push the activity D here because if I push activity D, I have to push everything on one or 2 days ahead, and D is on critical path, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can only push activity C because it has a float of 12. Now, this kind of adjustment is known as resource optimization. Resource optimization is of two types: resource labeling and resource smoothing. Okay, resource labeling and resource smoothing. So, in resource labeling, when you adjust the schedule, you have to adjust the end date of project. But if you do resource smoothing, you only adjust according to the float. Now I will give you example for both of this.
Okay.
Let's say you have, this is your start and this is activity A, this is activity B, this is activity C, and this is end. Let's say a short network diagram. So let's say this starts on day 1. It is, let's say, 2-day activity. So it will end on day 2. Now this will start on day 3. And let's say it is 2-day activity. So 3, 4. So it will end on 4th. Let's say C is 1-day activity starting on day 1. It will end on day 1. Okay. Now here late finish will be 4th. It is 2-day activity. So 3. So 3 minus 3, 0, 4 minus 4, 0. So float is 0. This will latest it has to finish by 2. It is 2-day activity. So latest it can start by day 1. 1 minus 1, 0, 2 minus 2, 0. So float is 0. Latest this can finish by 4th. So 4. And it is 1-day activity. So it will start on 4. So 4 minus 1, 3. 4 minus 1, 3. So float is 3 here. But here the float is 0. So on path 1, A, B and end, the float is 0. But path 2, the float is 3. Now what happens? Let's say that activity A is done by Jack.
Mhm.
And this is done by Joseph. And here Jack is working on activity A for 8 hours and Joseph is working for 8 hours. So it is very difficult for Joseph to work on day 1 for 18 hours, right? So
Yes.
what you will do, you will shift activity C. Why? Because activity C has 3 days float, right? This kind of adjustment, when you are using float time, then it is known as resource smoothing. Due to resource smoothing, you don't have to adjust the end date of the project. Clear?
Mhm.
Because you are
Yes.
utilizing the float. Now,
Okay.
let's suppose there is one case that let's say here Jack is working, here Joseph is working, and here Katie is working. Now, let's say Jack is a coder, he is a programmer, Katie is also a programmer. And you don't have any other coder in the team. Now suddenly what happens? Jack resigns. You can't say Jack that don't go or let's say Jack is on emergency leave. Now what you have to do? You have to, even if you have a new coder in the team, let's say you have another coder called Sandra in the team. From other team, you can take Sandra as a replacement for Jack. But Sandra will take at least 1 day to adjust and know about the project. Then only she can start, right? So activity
Mhm.
A can start on day 2. Because on day 1, Sandra will understand the project and then. So this means you have to delay here, critical part. So if this start on day 2, this will end on 2 and 3. This has to start on day 4. This will end on 4 and 5. Means the project is delayed by 1 day. So this kind of adjustment is known as resource labeling, where you have to adjust the end date of schedule. And can you do on your own? No. Because once the Jack has gone for emergency leave and Sandra comes and you have to deviate your critical path and you
Mhm.
have to adjust the end date, you have to go to CCB. You have to file a change request because your schedule baseline is deviated, your schedule is affected. So you have to file the change request, you have to update the change log, you have to go to CCB. CCB, if they approve, you can change the plan. And change the schedule.
Okay. Which option would you say is better?
See, definitely resource smoothing is better because you don't have to change the end date. Okay. So we have completed till this one, resource labeling and smoothing. So in next class, whenever we meet, we have to start from what if scenario. We have
We're gonna
completed till
need.
here, resource
Mhm.
optimization. We have to
Mhm.
start from what if scenario analysis.
I think we're still meeting
Okay.
on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, still meeting on Saturday morning.
Yeah. Saturday, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Saturday we will start from what if scenario.
Okay. Thank
Our
you so
regular
much.
class. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Akila. Bye.
Okay. Have a good morning.
Yeah. Thank you. Good night.